Hey guys, it's Drac. Took a really interesting commission for March. So the question is, what does this rough cut, this long strike barrel, this long strike barrel, this elite raven, and this strife all have in common? Well, the answer is they're all going to be crammed into this one singular commission, and it should be really, really cool. So without any more talking about it, let's get to work. Oh no, the dangers of working on too many projects at once. It's everywhere. Anyhow, amidst this Nerf Explosion or Nerf Splosion is a completely gutted strife and this raven with marks in Sharpie made where I intend to cut it to mesh the two together. Now, that's going to look somewhat like this for the Oblivion rifle. The commissioner specifically requested these two blasters be used. I might have used a Centurion shell, but I think that this should look really, really grand also. So, I'm going to go make this cut, work on this integration. I'll show you what that looks like when it's done. So this is the integration for the Straven's body. It is straight, which is the most important thing to me, and the putty on one side cured slowly. I used two different brands of epoxy putty, so this side it cured slowly and gave me plenty of time to smooth everything out, and then on this side it cured very, very quickly, so I have some jagged edges, and here I've got a little bit of a lip. Here we've got a very smooth breeding of the two that still splits open, which is very important for the overall completeness, I guess, the symmetry of the blaster. And obviously this is way too rough to work with, but I still have to do some logo and label removing anyhow, so I'm going to be sanding this something fierce in just a moment, and I guess I'll show you what it looks like after it's been sanded with like a couple of base coats on it next. But this is starting to come along very nicely. I still have a bunch of accessories to work on out here, but I'm enjoying where we're at in the process right now. Whew, so, alright, this is 3 coats of a gray automotive vinyl dye, which I think is going to be a really nice undershadowing for the matte white that'll go on top. I'm going to tape off, I think, the handle portion for now, and then I've got to think about if anything else needs to be taped off, but we're going to have the low light of the gray with a matte white, and then I'm planning on doing a lot of the accent pieces in gray and black, depending upon where exactly they fit in. So, I'm rambling, but I need to go tape that off and start kind of working on the detailing, but this is a pretty solid base to work with. I like how it looks right now. So I've gone ahead and cracked the Straven's motor cage so that these original stock motors will just come out. I've isolated the flywheel, so those will be ready to attach to these, which are light dash Tamiya motors. The commissioner and I discussed what kind of motors he wanted, and he said that he wanted the absolute best, so obviously what a perfect excuse to try out a new high rev speed motor from Tamiya, and they've just made excellent motors that I've used in the past. I'm really excited to try this one out. It actually has a double shaft, so I had to come in with some snips that are built into my needle nose pliers, and I just popped those off. So now they should work like traditional Nerf motors and should be very, very nice. I can't wait to install them and kind of see how they work for myself. So at this point you can see that the Oblivion's internals are fully functional. They are a little bit shiny. That's because they're coated in Danco silicone grease. Whenever you have a paint on paint like this, it's not something that I like to do, but the commissioner specifically requested that we remove as much orange as possible. So I've gone ahead and greased everything so that the paint on paint won't chip or flake. Now this is a very crisp rev. It's not very loud because I'm only using alkalines at the moment for the purposes of testing, but then this is a very smooth action. Again, no paint chipping. This has been installed so that we can release clips, and then over here this has all been locked down. You can kind of get a feel for how this front portion of the blaster is going to look. All that's left to do, and you can see that I've already come in and melted my first hole for an LED, is to install Selene style LED tack light in the front, which should be really, really nice. I'm going to be using this back battery pack to power that LED because it doesn't make sense to do a divisive battery tray when you already have tandem battery trays from your integration. So this is looking really nice, and I'll get that done, and then it should be ready to put together, and then there's still actually a lot to do on this commission. Oh man. So I know that a lot of makers out there are upset that Radio Shack is going out of business, and I am too, but the good news is this Switch was 50% off, so that's pretty tough to beat, so I got to pick up a whole bunch of Switches. They won't last me forever, but they'll last me for a while. You can see that my custom circuit for these two tactical lights, which will eventually fit in these holes that I melted specifically for them, will wire all the way back down here to the Raven's original battery tray, which has been split to use just the first two battery positions, and then flipping the switch we get bright blue LEDs, and that should be really nice. So I'm going to work on getting that together. Everything is still perfectly functional down here, and this is shaping up to be a really nice blaster. So ever since I made the Selene Raven, I've gotten a lot of questions about this, and the question is, how do you get the other parallel LED through the whole of the shell that it's not attached to? And the answer is intuitive or very, very surprising, depending upon what kind of problem solver you are, I guess. And so I do it this way. I come in and I thread dental floss through the LED. As I'm putting the shell together, I kind of tease it through by not quite flossing it into place, but pulling it up and into that hole and then pulling it through. So right now my floss is off center, so we're going to come at it one more time, and this is like one of those situations where Nerf modding can be a little bit frustrating, but it should be worth it. So there we go, we've kind of caught it, and then we'll pull it through as we get the shell into position. And there we go. Shell seems to be more or less in place. There we go. Raven, Strife, excellent, excellent, and then we'll just thread this through. Awesome. And so now all I have to do is disconnect this and pull it back through, and it should be really great. Alright, so the commission that never ends continues. Here we have the integration kind of showing you the back side of that with the long strike barrel almost fully reinstalled up in the top portion. Down here we have the rough cut portion of the blaster. This was removed, taped off with frog tape, and then painted so that everything will be black in the front as per the commissioner's request. And then here in the back end you can see I have installed, and he even signed it, a custom NOM slam fire mechanism. He makes these out of polycarbonate. It has a little tooth inside so that it holds the internals in an always trigger pulled configuration, which is excellent because the commissioner wanted there to be no trigger portion on this integration. So it'll look something kind of like this, but I'm going to finish up this last custom attachment piece, and it should be very close to complete. The Oblivion commission is coming along nicely, and I think it'll be done very, very soon. So, like always, before we go outside to do a final firing demo for the Oblivion, I want to show off both of the little lights inside. So, the integrated tack light is just super duper sweet, very, very bright, definitely going to get the job done, and it's always nice having your lighting system integrated like so. So, that's really, really cool. And then if we come over, I think I remember the button on these is over here, and for those of you that have never played with a Nitron, this is kind of what the scope looks like. So, the scope is really, really cool, has multiple settings. There's different sorts of ways to set it on. I like to set it to always on like this, and I think I actually have it on backwards right now. I like to go small to big, but I think it's supposed to go big to little. Now, that said, the combination of both is really, really cool. The green sets off the blue in a very, very neat way and makes this just super duper cool. So I'm going to go ahead and kill these lights, head outside, and show you what the final blaster looks like in both of its modes. I guess there are 3 modes total, and then fire it for you. Alright guys, so this is the final segment for the Oblivion blaster that I was commissioned to build. Just a really sweet overall primary. I'm really happy with how it turned out. Name over here, and I think both clips have some amount of darts in it. I did take this to the convention that I did a panel at so that I could use it for that. So I guess we'll fire a couple with it just in its regular configuration here. So firing very, very hard, obviously running on about 9 volts of power right now, so we'll click that back in, showcase what the blaster looks like in its sniper configuration. So there's that, and fire. And that's pretty sweet, I like to think. Still a few shots left. Obviously, both of the clips are painted to match so that it'll go in either configuration. I like keeping the 6 clip in the back. Gonna go ahead and switch it to its all-around close quarters combat mode, where we have the completely integrated rough cut, and so still able to fire. Now it's a very, very long primary, so you do need some reasonable wingspan to wield this properly. And then, of course, plenty of shotgun blasts. We'll throw the rest of them downrange. This is getting regular rough cut style performance. This is getting super powered strife style performance. Just an absolute workhorse of a primary. So lots of different configurations. Everything is painted to match, including the super sweet Nitron scope. And I really love doing commissions like this where I get to combine all sorts of stuff. Strife, Raven, Nitron, Long Strike, and rough cut. That's 5 blasters in one that all of the donated pieces came from. And with all of the different working, functioning parts, I think that it comes together to be a really, really cool blaster all the way around. I love doing projects like this. If you like them too, let me know. Put a comment in the comment section below, because it's not often that I take commissions as expensive as this one, and I really do like doing them, so it helps me out a lot to know that you guys enjoy watching them, because that makes it all worthwhile. So this is the Oblivion primary. I guess it's an Oblivion Straven with integrated rough cut and long strike barrel attachments. It is loosely based on the Oblivion rifle from the movie that Tom Cruise stars in, which was actually, I thought, quite good, although I'm not entirely sure how the critics felt about it. But that's it for today. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Really appreciate the viewership.